Psychonauts, a psychic adventure from the mind of Tim Schafer.
Did you ever have that game that you've seen plenty of times on the shelf at your local game store? You were curious about it, but you never ended up walking out with? Psychonauts was that sort of game for me, and thanks to Colin, I can finally see what I've been missing for the past 10 years. Yeah, this game turns 10 this year.
Tim Schafer is a man I only know through reputation. Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, which recently got a remaster, this game, Brutal Legend, that's all this guy and his production company Double Fine. Well, Full Throttle was technically LucasArts, but whatever. He's got stories to tell. He also wants to entertain you with a solid game while he's at it. When I was ready to get things started, I was a little worried. I didn't own an Xbox when I received this donation, and I read that Psychonauts wasn't initially backwards compatible with the Xbox 360. I thought I was going to have to download the digital version available on Xbox Live, or perhaps the version on Steam or PlayStation 3. I was relieved to see that the physical disc does indeed work, but not without the occasional graphical quirk. Sometimes I would see these tiny black lines scattered across the screen when I'm running through the campgrounds, and the textures on Rasputin's suit would infrequently turn blue when I paused and unpaused the game. I have nothing wrong with the color blue, but I'm not one for seersucker suits. I don't think anyone is. Look at this guy's reaction to one. Rest in peace, Glenn Shaddix. Hey, speaking of Beetlejuice, look at that, a proper segue for once. Tim Burton was all over my head looking at this. And not just Nightmare Before Christmas, which is often the most brought up comparison, probably just on the character design alone, but I got Beetlejuice vibes, especially from the circus music. I was shocked to learn that Danny Elfman didn't compose his soundtrack. I got Edward Scissorhands vibes and whatever else Burton created before he started putting Johnny Depp and everything. And this is all fine. Tim Schafer wanted to make a tribute to that sort of dark, macabre art style, giving it a unique look that's simultaneously eerie and endearing, and that extends to the writing as well. Psychonauts tells the story of Rasputin, Raz for short, a young runaway who escapes to a summer camp meant for training up-and-coming psychics to eventually become psychonauts, psychic soldiers who use their abilities to help protect the world from threats. Though he doesn't have much time to spend training on account of the camp counselors contacting Raz's father to pick him up, he tags along with the rest of the kids to learn some things and to help develop his latent psychic abilities. When a deranged scientist starts stealing the campers' brains to put in weapons like battle tanks, Raz along with Ford Cruller, a former psychonaut who wants to help Raz build his powers, make it their mission to stop the brain stealing and to save the camp from impending doom. That's sort of the whole plot in a very compact nutshell. What I'm not mentioning is the assload of character study, development, and world building, not just for Raz, but also for the entire campground. They're not all very interesting, and some I find are sort of underdeveloped, like Dogen. I'd like to know more about a kid who managed to accidentally detonate someone's head up to 4 times. But as a whole, this is a very captivating cast of characters that work well with one another, and it only gets more interesting when you start delving into the minds of some of these people, and in this game I mean that literally. Everything started to slow down admittedly when I entered the asylum. The plot just sort of pauses to spend some time helping out these unfortunate inmates, and I think it would have been a bigger problem if I didn't enjoy the writing so much. Steve Bloom as the G-Men, my goodness, it's eccentric to the point where it hurts. In a positive manner, speaking of course. What really took me by surprise was Richard Horvitz as Raz. It actually took me a bit to recognize the voice because I'm so used to hearing him ham it up as Daggett from Angry Beavers and Zim from Invader Zim. I mean, that's just what he does. But here, very calm, in control. It's almost an entirely different person, and it's compelling. This is a platformer that also wants to tell you a story, not because it has to, but because it wants to. For me, it's like watching a cartoon with great writing and a sense of humor, but instead of waiting a whole week to catch the next episode, I just gotta play some of the game to see what happens next, and it just so happens that the game itself is pretty solid. However, like last week's game, I don't think Psychonauts does much new with the formula, but it does do a good enough job with what it has and what it wants to accomplish. Hub worlds that are both rich in visuals and give you things to do, collectibles that are worth more than just a number going up, and fun upgrades that let you think outside the box when you're in the middle of completing a level. I spent nearly 2 hours just exploring the camp the first time around. Everything's all nicely lit and very natural, and commonly the game rewarded me with a goodie for going off the beaten pathway with only the rare psychic bear to deal with. I set this one on fire. They really want you to absorb the surroundings and check everything in sight, like finding tags to clear up emotional baggage. I thought that was really clever, by the way. You're knocking around vaults to get backstory on certain characters. You do all this in more to increase your health and rank. Now that I think about it, every collectible besides arrowheads are nothing but knickknacks that eventually improve your rank, which grants you more psychic abilities the higher it gets. Man, in hindsight, playing this game involving a psychic boy and how he uses those powers to his advantage really makes me hate how underutilized Silver the Hedgehog was in Sonic 06. This is how Silver the Hedgehog should have been, a telekinetic psychic that can use his powers for more than just stunning and throwing shit. He can actually get up and personal with enemies for one thing. Raz can double jump, he can levitate and use his powers to move faster, set things on fire, concentrate his psychic powers into bursts of energy, he can defend himself with a shield. This is all after you get the proper upgrades, yeah, but a fully upgraded Raz runs fucking circles around Silver. Sorry, I didn't mean to rant. Well, yeah, I did, I wrote it down after all. Psychic abilities are not always the center of attention. Since Raz grew up in the circus and is quite the acrobat as a result, there are traditional challenges to watch out for, like swinging on poles, climbing walls, crawling on tight ropes, and near the end of the game, making tight jumps. Psychonauts wasn't very hard for me until the end, and I wouldn't even call that frustrating, just busy. There's an amazing selection of bizarre worlds here. They're all very different and have their own methods of challenging Rasputin. It gets a little crazy for me at times though, minor sensory overload. It feels like it risks losing focus and structure for the sake of expressing itself on the themes of exploring the depths of the human mind. Again, this really only becomes a problem in the asylum part of the game. I love the way this world looks, but its level design is somewhat chaotic and confusing, and this world sort of drags with its emphasis on theatrics. I wish it were clearer on certain things too. Opening the pathway to new worlds requires you to use the door portal, a plot-significant tool, as an item in real time when it's appropriate. But I would often forget that I could do that, thinking it was something Raz would use automatically as the story went on, and I spent about 5 minutes aimlessly wandering, questioning what I needed to do. When you're required to constantly pause the game to equip certain items to move along in the level, or to collect things like cobwebs or to switch power-ups, that sort of builds up after a while, kinda disrupts the pace ever so slightly for me. I say all that, but Psychonauts is still only about a 10-hour adventure, and that's including all of the exploring I did for Arrowheads to buy some upgrades. There's plenty to do after the fact, like searching for hidden items to get more backstory on things. I didn't even bring attention to the figments, another collectible that increases your rank. They're all over the damn place, and you gotta get them all to complete a save file. There's no real point besides bragging rights, and I feel that's not what's really important for this video in particular. Still, I'm glad to have finally experienced this. It's good to play a game that manages to deliver on the gameplay, even if it is very procedural, and also deliver a good story with entertaining writing and characters. It wanted to stick out from the crowd with its interesting visual style and art direction, without shoving its head up its ass. There's nothing wrong with a game trying to be more than just a video game, but I play a video game to, play a video game and have a good time. Psychonauts isn't what I consider homework for a video gamer, something you absolutely have to play at least 5 times during your life. But at some point, you should consider popping it in and see what's being offered here.
If you're interested, Psychonauts is available for Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, and Steam for about $10, and it's a good deal, so you should jump on that when you can if you want to buy the game, which I think you should. So on to the next game. Let me reach inside here. Oh, Mega Man Network Transmission. Okay, we're headed back to the world of Mega Man next week, folks, so I'll get to work on that, and I'll see you all then.
I really should have removed the other games in the box first.